did everybody hear that? So that the ones at Raymond are fenced in, but it's very difficult to keep them in. Yes.
From the genetic standpoint of the mixed gene, how does Teton deal with their buffalo?
I'm not sure, and that's.
It might be interesting to ask that question because they have a very large herd of buffalo in Teton now as a result of the Rockefeller buffalo that got off when they purchased the park.
And so, you know, there's a lot of questions about the genetics, which is fine. The important part here is that bison did not occur on the Kaibab on the North Rim, you know, from the very beginning. They're not native to that area. And so that's the point which we then begin to say that they were a crossbred. Even if they weren't crossbred and brought in, they would still be considered exotic because they were brought in and not native to that area. So that's where our determination has been made, and that's why, because we look at the ecosystem did not evolve with that. Yes?
I thought you said earlier that the Native Americans had records that there were bison there.
The bison were down in the Kanab Creek drainage, which is far off of the North Rim.
The records are conclusive of that?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And we had work done to look at any kind of evidence in the park in terms of bison, and there were bones found down in a cave along the river, and it was determined that was a trading element rather than actual existence in the canyon. Okay, so where we are now is that we're going to be doing this determination this spring. Those are all really good questions. And one thing that we're really working on right now is beginning to educate the public in regard to this issue, because a lot of you have very good questions about the bison, and you know, if you look at my shirt here, I have a little bison on my emblem, the National Park Service, Yellowstone National Park. It's the emblem of the Park Service, it's the emblem of the Department of Interior. Why in the world would we want to get them out of the park? And if you go online, you'll actually find a lot of information about bison on the North Rim and what an attraction it is to the visitor. Let's go see the bison in a national park. Let's go to the North Rim. And so we're finding also that with the bigger and bigger that the herd gets, as well as the more they stay in the park year-round, we're having more interactions, I should say, with the public. And so just this last year, there were 8 highway accidents in the park, car collisions with bison. They're also, because they're getting larger in numbers, they're starting to herd up into different sizes and becoming more bold. They really used to not be able to find them. When we were looking for them to round them up, we couldn't find them, but you can go out there now, and especially right in the entrance area, and they won't leave. They're getting pretty accustomed to people being there, which is another concern that we have. But I think trying to get the message out of don't get too, happy with these critters, because we're going to be moving them out. However, that doesn't mean they'll be gone from the area, and that I'm hoping that we can come up with a resolve where bison will be somewhere where they need to be, but not necessarily in the park. And so with that, we're trying to also come up with different ways to get that word out and let people know that what the story is. It's a very interesting story, and it also has some very interesting outcomes in terms of impacts. We're open to ideas on what to do with these animals. And one that's come up is, what about an Adopt the Bison program? And this I actually got off the web. And this fellow uses this is his pet, bison. So
well, you can burn the buffalo chips,
You can burn buffalo chips, yeah.
You could bring in some good-looking cattle to increase the cattle genes, and then they become over a long period of time more domestic.
Yeah, okay, so we could increase the cattle genes and get them more domestic. But I think that we're very hopeful with the partnership that we've developed and the information that we're gathering. And I think a lot of people are very interested and are bringing forth some good information. And come this summer, I'm hopeful that we're going to have a solution and we're going to start to implement that and slowly correct this issue that we have on the North Rim and the challenge. Yes?
Is the whole House Rock Valley herd now on top, or is there still some down in the House Rock area?
I don't think they've been down in House Rock in a couple of years.
Okay.
So they used to go down and cab down there, but now they're pretty much staying on the top. I know the guides have been saying that they're seeing very little going off of the plateau itself. Yes?
Game and fish numbers in the last 2 years show harvests of buffalo in the House Rock Valley in excess of 40 animals. So I don't know that that's true.
So the statement was that there have been in excess of 40 animals in House Rock Valley according to the harvest numbers. So 40 out of 350, 400, something like that.
That were harvested.
That were harvested, yeah. Good. Yes?
You'd said earlier that there was 350 approximately bison. Was that in park or in the whole area?
It's basically they're spending most of their time in the park. And so they're right on they go out a little bit into the forest and they get shot, and that's kind of kept them to not go back out on the forest. Also, there are quite a few roads out on the North Rim side between the forest and that enter into the park in the backcountry area. And so a lot of that pressure, I think, people go in and scout, and then it may push them out, and then they can hunt from there on the forest. And so it's really kind of mingling right in that area. Yes?
So is hunting illegal within the Grand Canyon National Park?
Yes, hunting is not permitted in Grand Canyon National Park.
Is there ever been any discussion or any thought about maybe letting just bison be indiscriminately hunted within the park, or is there a legal or ethical reasons?
It's in our proclamation that established the park that there would not be hunting.
Okay.
If anything, if we need to remove an animal, and that we could do, we could kill them in the park, but it couldn't be through hunting.
So it would have to be the Park Service that did it then?
Correct, it would have to be the Park Service that would put it on. And, in collaboration with Game and Fish, but it would basically be a controlled type, and I hate to say kill, but that's what it would be. Elimination. So, yes?
Yeah, one of your early slides, you pointed out a person standing near the buffalo herd. I always had the impression that buffalo were pretty dangerous animals. To be near on foot, is that not the case?
It definitely is the case, and I believe at that time they were crossbred, and there was a lot of the cattle gene in there, and I think that at that time they could herd them and they could be among them, but then over time, because they become more wild and less domesticated in that sense, that right now I would not advise getting out of your car to take that picture. Yes?
Why was the fence taken down that kept the beefalo out in the first place?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. So, it was, on the Game and Fish, I don't know if it just became in disrepair